Hi everybody. Okay, so this is an early morning shoot in my funny little shed, and great to be broadcasting out. So I just wanted to thank one or two people as we start. Roger for your comments, and I'll be talking about them as we go. And also a big shout out to Tani Marutu Gray, who I hope to be talking to on the radio later today, but who I'm talking about in one section today as well. Have a great day. Hi everybody. Okay, so I thought I'd start today with a look building on Jane Fonda, the book on Jane Fonda. Obviously to the right of the book of Jane Fonda, I've got Jane Fonda's workout book. Now I've talked quite a bit about the book itself, Jane Fonda. I wanted to talk today about Henry Fonda, because that is actually quite an interesting journey, and it's got a kind of a, not exactly a morbidity about it, but it's got a very, very grey streak, well, not a dark streak, but a kind of grey pulsing streak through it. That's worth reading just in terms of character, just in terms of American character. I've just finished, and I'm going to be talking about Bruce Springsteen's autobiography, which is coloured by two things. One is his depression, and two is his relationship with his father, and those two things merge and go together in various ways. So coming to Henry Fonda, I think there's this kind of brooding picture of a person doing very, very well in life, especially with his acting, and a family. And of course you've got Peter Fonda, you've got Jane Fonda, you've got their mother, and so on. And you've also got the class that they come from. I've talked about that with respect to Jane Fonda, the book Jane Fonda. Coming to the workout book, I think that's a really interesting book, just because it illustrates the kind of obsession with the body that we came to have. That's my generation, as well as anyone coming through the 70s, 80s and 90s in the world, not just in North America, and she really led it in lots of respects. So that's one set that I'll be talking about probably as a set going forward. Then on the other side, of course, I've got some biographies of famous actors. Burton, of course, in a sense a contemporary of Henry Fonda's, and he illustrates someone coming from Wales and going to Hollywood, probably from a completely different class, well, certainly a completely different social strata to the Fondas. So I wanted to kind of put that together, because it shows to some extent just what a range Hollywood has. On the other hand, it also shows just how rugged it was for someone like Burton, and also it illustrates the whole business of Burton, Elizabeth Taylor, and so on, and the Hollywood life, which to some extent is not really there in the Fonda books for some reason. Okay, so and then of course on the right we'll be spending some time as we go forward with Mick and the Boys, but that's actually a biography of Jaggr himself, and that's very interesting. It's a very good biography actually, and it takes you through the various stages of Jaggr's life, but it also gives a good picture of his class, his background, and that's quite different to Burton. Burton came from coal mining in one of the valleys in Wales. Jaggr didn't come from privilege, but he came from North London or that type of area. He came from, I guess you would call, lower middle class, without wanting to put too fine a point on it. But he had very solid support, and to some extent he worked that picture, the picture of rebellion from a class position, in the course of his life. The Rolling Stones, really on the right, is just a pictorial essay, which is not bad. It's a pretty good a picture of the band as they roll. And that leads me to the covers of these books, which I think is interesting. Obviously the head always rules, especially with the Henry Fonda book, the very serious picture. Same with Jane Fonda as a posed picture. The Burton picture's a little different. He's obviously in the field, but if you look at the body pictures, Jaggr is being sold on a body basis, and that's almost as a commodity, and so is Fonda. And I thought that was interesting that we had body shots of both of these two. So that's the set for the morning, trying to compress it into a little more than I was going for 8 or 9 minutes, and now I'm trying to go for 5 or 6, just because I feel that we should have some momentum to these pictures. I'm also interested in the early morning set here, just as light comes to Awapuni, and also in reflection. So obviously I'm here waving in reflection in the background, and I'm interested in all that too, so we'll be working on that as we go forward. Thank you, Roger, for all your comments on that type of thing. You're Peter Cleve. Okay, so this is a set that of course is being featured in He Pukapuka, which is a parallel set, I guess, to Books and Books. And in He Pukapuka I've been talking about the 4 books coming down through the stand. The book, Kitty Te Kanawa's autobiography, Billy T. James's autobiography, Mahora Peters' work in Showband, and the life history of Tawera Nico. And today I wanted just to mention that set because it's really a powerful set. Actually, the more I've thought about it, just working away in my shed and having those books there in the corner, they're such a powerful generation right across the board. If you think of Kitty Te Kanawa in opera, Billy T. James in comedy, Mahora Peters in the showband world, and Tawera Nico in rugby league, and also with Tawera. I've always thought of him, and to some extent that's in the book. A book actually ghosted by Richard Beck very well. He's a show person as well. He's an actor. He's on a stage. He's with his long flowing locks and so forth, and his physique and his image. And I think that coming back up the stand, that image business is really important, and those 4 are very, very important in the statement of image. Okay, so also on the book stand, just to the left of the corner stand, I've got 2 programs from Kōwhiti, and fortunate enough today to be talking to Tāne Mahuta Gray on the radio, and I just wanted to salute him now in this very short piece for all of the good work that he does, Tāne Mahuta and his sister, and a whole lot of other people in the arts, especially in the field of Māori dance. Tēnā rawa tū koutou. On the right, interestingly, for those people from the Hawke's Bay, paintings of mohaka, and very, very interesting paintings actually. You're Peter Cleve. Okay, so moving down to the mirror set this morning, looking at books on the music stand. First of all, Fights, Feuds and Heartfelt Hatreds is the name of the book on the left in the music stand. And I'm about to read it, but I just love the title, Fights, Feuds and Heartfelt Hatreds. Who would write a book about things like that, and why not? Why not? What a great idea. Fights, Feuds and Heartfelt Hatreds. The book beside it, I've got, because so far I haven't talked about any coffee table books, and I will be talking about them as I go along, and that's a book called Cubists and Cubism, which is pretty good as a coffee table book, simply because it's got such good paintings, and also because it's such a big book and it needs to go onto a big table really, or unless you want to, I don't know, make a statement by having it on a small table. So there you go, that's the books on the music stand this morning. And just finishing off very quickly, because I know it's quite a long show this morning, I've got starting points in the centre of a set of books there beside the guitar. Alongside that is actually a book by my daughter Esme Cleve, and that is a book of my journeys on the banana boat, the Torftour. Now then, that also goes with work that is being done, or was being done I should say, on the banana boats and on the Union Steamship Company, and I'm interested in anybody out there who's got any cross-references, because at the moment I've got that, I've got my own obliquely autobiographical work, which, as I say, is oblique. I mean, I've got my thesis on St. Stephen's, which has a little bit about me, and I've got other books which have got a bit about me, and so on and so on. But this is really about my life on the banana boats. Also, I think it directly goes with a book of mine called Ramarama Ruatahuna, Oxford and Jerusalem, because it fills out that early part before I get to Ramarama, which of course was where St. Stephen's School was and might be in the future, and Manurewa, where I'm from. Manurewa being quite close to Ramarama. So that's kind of like a missing link. I've got a couple of them which are not written up in my life. My time at Eden Crescent, this, and this time on the banana boat and so forth. But also, just looking ahead, I've got on the left there The Tears of Autumn, which is a really, really good book, a book I've read several times. And I'm working quite extensively with people from Vietnam for some reason, largely because they like my guitar work, which is pretty odd, just in terms of a connection. But I do a lot of work with Vietnamese people. And that, of course, is Charles McGarry's look at the assassination, at the Kennedy assassination, with Vietnam in mind. Okay, so we have in the back there Rosemary Madden's Mana Wahine, a book by Campus Press, and that's our show. I'll be coming back to these books as we go in a little bit more depth, but I haven't got much time this morning, and great to be broadcasting out.